Dungeons are a staple of fantasy RPGs, all the way from the genre's roots in Dungeons and Dragons to today. Sword World certainly is no stranger to dungeons as well. In the game, you take the role of adventurers whose job often comes down to exploring a dungeon. So far, so good, but many other fantasy RPGs have you play adventurers who delve into dungeons, so what makes Sword World special? Put simply, I believe that Sword World manages to blend dungeons into its world much more seamlessly than most other games. It also has setting details in place that allow for a wide variety of dungeons in all shapes and sizes to naturally exist in Raixia. Let's go over the history of Raixia briefly, while delving into the different types of dungeons and how they came to be in the first place. Roughly 10,000 years ago, during the Divine Civilization period, gods walked the face of Raixia, and the people of the time lived alongside them. Then, of course, the War of the Gods broke out, ultimately shattering Cardia and bringing an end to this time period. During this time, artifacts of immense power, often divine in nature, were made. For example, copies of the Swords of Genesis were created, each being a fraction as powerful as the original. Of course, a fraction is still plenty. These swords, similar to the Swords of Genesis, have a mind of their own. Harnessing the power derived from the Swords of Genesis, they are capable of creating so-called sword labyrinths. Sword labyrinths are reality-warping dungeons conjured up by the sword enshrined within. They are often massive mazes, and are known to be able to change their layout. All the treasure, as well as monsters, traps and structures found within, are creations of the sword as well. These labyrinths exist both to safeguard the sword inside, and to test the worth of those who wish to become the sword's new master. It isn't unheard of for sword labyrinths, especially those with swords still enshrined within, to have towns and cities thriving around them. A good example would be the City of Liberty in the Zulz region, at the center of which stands Borngard Castle. You can read more about it in the 2.0 replay Borngard's Castle Labyrinth. The book also includes a replay, lore on the city, as well as a mini-supplement on running the ever-changing Borngard Castle. Following the end of the War of the Gods, Cardia's shattering filled Raixia with mana, giving birth to magic and rise to the magic civilization. There is a lot of history to this time period available to us that is widely unknown to the common folk of Raixia, found in the 2.0 books Age of Grimoire and Natural History of Iskayr. To make a long story short, so-called Blue Bloods ruled this time period through their divine gift of dominion. Through their dominion and the use of powerful magics, they became what current-day denizens of Raixia would come to know as Wizard Kings. However, the gift of dominion weakened over time as their blue blood thinned, and thus their power over the people faded as well. The end of this time period saw the rise of summoning arts, the art of summoning demons. It is unclear how this magic civilization truly fell, but one reminder of this fall to this very day remains: the Abyss. The Abyss is a gigantic tear in reality located on the northmost end of the Alframe continent. Powerful demon can pass through it into this reality. The people of the Durandal period created the Wall of the Abyss to contain this breach. Despite this, since the creation of the Abyss, smaller tears in reality started appearing across the continent. These are known as shallow abysses. These shallows can appear pretty much everywhere without warning, only being signaled by an aurora stretching from the northern sky to the location of the shallow. Shallow abysses slowly grow in size if left alone, gradually absorbing everything they come in contact with. Once inside, you can't easily leave. Adventurers are often tasked with exploring and closing these rifts. To do that, they need to enter the shallow and locate an abyss core. Only with the destruction of this core will the shallow disappear. Shallow abysses can be thought of as pocket dimensions, or demiplanes if you prefer. Outside, these take the shape of pitch-black orbs of pure darkness, but inside could be anything, regardless of where you find this shallow. The size of the orb also doesn't inform you of the size of the plane inside. You could find yourself in vast forests, islands floating in the sky, ships adrift on an ocean of stars, buzzing cities, or whatever you can imagine. One interesting aspect of shallow abysses that has been observed is their ability to reflect past events, even if in a distorted manner. So you could also find yourself in the midst of a historic event or battle, for example. One can think of shallow abysses as a cousin to sword labyrinths. As such, they also have a will of their own. To deter you from destroying its core, the shallow will summon creatures and structures, either to distract, confuse or combat you as you try to approach the core. Shallows can also summon demons, and often do so to safeguard the core. After the fall of the magic civilization, the Magitech civilization soon enough rose up. There has been an in-between period between these two civilizations where no historical records exist, but let us focus on the Elmina's period for now. As the name suggests, this civilization rose up through their mastery of Magitech. This civilization lived with unprecedented technological advancements, leading lives similar to those of mid-20th century people on Earth. Their civilization collapsed around 300 years ago. During the Diabolic Triumph, natural disasters caused the land to shift, burying a lot of buildings from the time. It isn't uncommon for adventurers to have their first foray into dungeon delving by exploring a ruin from this time. You can think of them a lot like modern-day Earth buildings, all fulfilling some purpose in their civilization. You may find yourself in a residency, a shopping center, or even a beauty salon. Of course, people of current-day Rexia will have little concept of malls or police stations, so to them, these are mysterious ruins filled with treasure and danger. Of course, Magitech civilization dungeons don't have to be so mundane. They can also be military installations or secret research facilities filled with experiments, both magical and Magitech alike. The Magitech civilization mass-produced a lot of items and devices, not least of which being Magitech constructs, which will most likely be your main adversaries within these types of ruins. Not all of them have to be combat models, of course. Some may simply have degraded in their faculties over the past 300 years and harmed the PCs inadvertently while meaning well. Naturally, other types of creatures, like Barbarous, may have also made themselves at home in these places, so watch out. While artifacts from this time period fetch a smaller price due to their relative abundance, they are still valuable and sought after. As an aside, ruins, in general, are a very common type of dungeon that adventurers get to explore on Rexia. While Elmina's ruins are the most common, ruins from previous civilizations may also be found. Those would most likely not look as modern and contemporary as the ruins of the Magitech civilization, but could still yield interesting and worthwhile loot. You may find an old castle or a magic research facility from the Durandal period, perhaps an old temples devoted to gods lost in the war from the Schnell period. Or maybe you find something that defies explanation hailing from the Lost Age. After the Elmina's civilization was brought low during the Diabolic Triumph, and the Barbarous subsequently scattered across the planet following the Barbarous King's defeat, humanity started to rebuild. Now, roughly 300 years later, we are still not up to the level everything used to be. Current-day Rexia is roughly on a medieval development level. I say roughly because not all is lost. This is where adventurers come in. While it isn't the only task in the adventuring job description, dungeons are a key part. The world being what it currently is, relics from the previous ages are in high demand. Of course, adventurers don't explore ancient ruins exclusively. While there are scarcely any sorts of dungeons from this era, adventurers have plenty on hand with all the ruins from prior ages. That being said, of course new structures are still being built, as well as caves and the like that can serve as sort of dungeons. breaking into a barbarous stronghold or exterminating monsters that have made themselves at home in a cave system or in a city's sewers are just a few examples of what could qualify as a dungeon in this age. Dungeons are a long-running fantasy roleplay staple. However, in most games, I feel like they are just there to be there without giving a good explanation of why these places exist. What sets Sword World apart from other fantasy RPGs, I feel, is how intricately the existence of these dungeons is explained and woven into the lore of Raixia. Be it a shallow abyss, a sword labyrinth, a ruin from days long gone, or just a barbarous stronghold built out of some cave system, they all are an integral part of the world of Raixia. This makes Raixia feel more alive and more real.